Have you ever felt like secondary school is harder than you expected? Not just because of the subjects, but because of everything else happening at the same time. Things like leadership responsibilities, friendships changing, and constantly comparing yourself to others. In this video, I just want to share some honest experiences I've had in secondary school, especially about balancing my life in secondary 3, dealing with comparisons, and how friendships naturally change over time. This is not my normal study tips videos or when I teach you guys certain subjects, but these are just my personal thoughts as a student going through the same things. One of the biggest uh, challenges I faced in secondary 3 is balancing all the different parts of my life. There were days when I had CCA training, school assignments, leadership responsibilities, and personal commitments all happening at the same time. And I felt quite overwhelmed. For me, this became even more challenging during periods where I had extra Silat training sections. For those of you who don't know, Silat is basically a traditional Malay martial arts. And besides my regular CCA commitments, there were times when I had to attend additional trainings to prepare for performances. On top of that, I still had homework, revision, projects, personal commitments, and even piano lessons on Saturdays. Leadership responsibilities also added another layer to my schedule. As a CCA leader and a prefect, there are times when I needed to attend meetings, help organize activities, or support events happening in school. Even before becoming a prefect, I served as a peer support leader in secondary school, which taught me a lot about responsibility and looking out for others. While I enjoy these leadership opportunities, there are definitely moments when balancing them with academics and CCA can be difficult. There were moments when it felt like everything was happening at once. After a long day in school, training, and leadership duties, I would come home tired but still have work waiting for me. Sometimes it felt like there simply weren't enough hours in the day to finish everything. What I realized was that I couldn't rely on motivation alone. I had to become more intentional with how I use my time. Instead of looking at everything I had to do and feeling overwhelmed, I started breaking tasks into smaller, more manageable pieces. For example, if I knew I had extra Silat training or leadership commitments during the week, I would try to complete some homework earlier or revise a little each day instead of leaving everything until the last minute. Even short study sessions helped because they prevented work from piling up. I also learned that balance doesn't mean giving equal time to everything every day. Sometimes school needed more attention, while other times I had to focus more on preparing for a Silat performance or fulfilling leadership responsibilities. The important thing was learning how to adjust my priorities, depending on what was most urgent at the moment. Another thing I learned was the importance of making time for myself. When you're constantly moving from school to CCA to leadership duties and other commitments, it's easy to forget to rest. But taking short breaks, spending time with family, or simply doing something I enjoy helped me recharge and avoid feeling completely burnt out. Looking back, I still find balancing everything challenging at times, but I've become better. Those experiences taught me valuable lessons about discipline, planning ahead, adapt- adaptability, and staying calm even when my schedule feels packed. Another thing I struggled with was comparing myself to others. In school, it's very easy to see people who seem smarter, faster, or more confident, and then start feeling like you're not good enough. I used to do that a lot without realizing it. I remember there was one of the smartest students in my class whom I constantly compared myself to. They always seemed to understand concepts quickly, perform well academically, and appeared to have everything under control. Whenever I look at their achievements, I would start questioning my own abilities and wondering why I wasn't at the same level. The more I compared myself to them, the more discouraged I became. Instead of motivating me, it made me focus on what I lacked rather than what I was improving on. Eventually, I realized that constantly comparing myself to someone else was only pulling me down and preventing me from appreciating my own progress. So I made a conscious decision to focus on myself instead. Rather than measuring my success against someone else's results, I started paying attention to my own growth. I focused on improving one step at a time, celebrating small wins, and working on areas where I could genuinely improve. Over time, something interesting happened. As I grew older and continued working on myself, I found that I was no longer looking up at that person from a distance. We were able to have conversations, discuss ideas, and contribute in class on a more equal footing. In a way, we were finally on the same wave. That experience taught me that growth takes time. Sometimes the gap between where you are and where you want to be feels huge. But constantly comparing yourself to others won't close that gap. Focusing on your own journey, however, can help you get there much faster. Now, I try to focus more on my own progress instead of comparing myself to others. Even small improvements are still progress, and that matters more than being better than someone else. I also noticed that friendships change a lot in secondary school. This was something I didn't really expect when I first entered secondary school. Back then, I had a friend group of about 10 people, and we were together almost every hour of every school day. We would talk before lessons, spend time together during breaks, and generally see each other all the time. Because we were so close, I assumed things would stay that way throughout secondary school. But as time passed, things naturally started to change. People joined different CCAs, developed new interests, and became closer to classmates from other groups, or simply got busier with their own commitments. Without anyone intentionally trying to drift apart, we gradually spent less time together than before. Now, the friend group that used to have around 10 people has become much smaller. Most of the time, I only see some of them during recess and occasionally after school. The group that regularly hangs out together is now closer to 5 people instead of 10. At first, I found this quite strange and even a little sad. When you're used to seeing the same people every day, it's easy to feel like something is wrong when that changes. I wondered whether we were becoming less close or whether I had done something wrong. But over time, I realized that friendships changing doesn't always mean friendships ending. Even though we don't spend as much time together as before, many of those friendships still exist. We still talk when we meet, support each other when needed, and spend memories together from the time we spent together. The friendship simply looks different now compared to before. I also realize that secondary school is a period where everyone is growing and changing. As people discover new interests, take on leadership roles, join different activities, and meet new people, their social circles naturally change as well. That's a normal part of growing up. At the same time, these changes gave me opportunities to form new friendships too. Through CCA, school events, leadership opportunities, and classes, I met people I probably wouldn't have interacted with otherwise. Some of those friendships became just as meaningful as the ones I had before. One lesson I've learned is that friendship isn't measured only by how often you see someone. Sometimes life gets busy. Sometimes schedules become different, and people spend less time together. What matters more is whether there is still mutual respect, trust, and support when you do meet. Looking back, I think friendships changing are one of the most important lessons secondary school teaches us. It can be difficult at first, but it helps us understand that relationships evolve over time. Some friendships become stronger, some became less active, and new ones are formed along the way. And that's okay. It's simply part of growing up. Overall, secondary school has taught me that it's not just about studying hard. It's also about learning how to balance different parts of life, understanding yourself better, and adapting to changes. If you're going through the same things, just know that you're not alone. Everyone is figuring things out at their own pace, even if it doesn't look like it from the outside. And I think that's something I wish more students knew earlier. Thanks for listening.